Who can ever forget that famous phone company that did everything they could to make sure you couldn't open up their products and replace their batteries or screens or whatever? Come with me now to a simpler time, 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 simpler time. Wow. The Wurlitzer 200. This is a Wurlitzer 200. It's about 50 years old. The Wurlitzer 200 gave way to the Wurlitzer 200A. This one's forest green, if you can tell the color of that. You get inside these by taking 3 screws out of the bottom, and then the lid flips off. And this is what it shows you on the inside. There's a circuit board. The circuit board on the 200 series is mounted on a metal plate that goes from end to end on the keyboard that also has the speakers and the controls mounted on it. A problem that sometimes pops up on these things is when the circuit warms up, there's a crackling that comes from the speakers. If you reflow the solder on the transistors, that problem could go away. To remove the plate with the electronics mounted on it and gain access to the key bed, you need to remove 4 screws. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, and 4. A couple of wires you need to remove. This one here. The power. Sort of try to show that. And there's a ground wire connected to one of the mounting screws. A popular mod for the Model 200, because it tended to hum a little bit, is a mod that's available online. A couple of fuzzy videos posted online. And I'll let you know who posted those after I check. But there's 2 wires here that go to the transformer. 2 gray wires that go to the transformer. And I'll show you that mod in a second. They cause hum because they're passing by the board assembly. Without any kind of shielding or anything on them. So there's a way to shield those that's a do-it-yourself project, if you're, again, good with the soldering gun. This is shown in a better video by Vintage Vibe. Basically, you're going to detach the power wires, twist them together, tape them to the plate that the power module, the motherboard, sits on, with conductive adhesive foil tape, and hopefully reduce some of the hum. So there's the new plate installed. You can see the foil tape lurking back there on the edge of the steel plate. It does make a difference too. It reduces the hum quite a bit. And once again, before I do this, if I were you, I'd take a look at a couple of videos from Vintage Vibe back in 2008 where they describe this procedure in detail. The metal plate on top here is a hum shield. It's removed by taking out or loosening these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. Once you take the hum shield off, you can see the wooden components that make up the action center in a Wurlitzer. It's not so different from what's inside a regular piano. The concept is basically the same, except instead of hitting strings, the hammers hit tines, metal tines. One sure way to tell if you need to lubricate the wooden component action center hinges is if you put down your sustain pedal and you play a note and it only sounds the first time. So you play a note multiple times and it only sounds the first time. That means you have to go and lubricate the action center with Protec. You can get this from Howard Piano Industries in the States. I'm not sponsored by anybody, obviously, as you can see by the number of views on my channel, but Protec is the only thing you really want to use there, because other stuff might work for a little while, but then it will attract dust and grit and make things just as bad as they used to be. So there are 5 different pivot points to lubricate in a Wurlitzer action center. You're looking at basically anywhere you see a hinge type of operation going on. You just want to put a drop or two of Protec on each side of each one. So this is what it looks like with the board section removed. So you can see another pivot point to lubricate right here. I find with the power board removed and the speaker board, if you lay the piano on its back, it's not bad reaching in. Using Protec, you can use a syringe or you can use an oiler. They make little oiler containers. If you found this video, you're a modern day Magellan, so congrats. It's not going to be easy to find. Here's how you take out the keys. The best way is just to press down on that, lift the keys out. The keys are numbered, but keep track of them, it just makes it easier. It doesn't hurt to take out the keys once in a while. You can clean underneath them, and I've already done that, so I'll just put them back. Again, this stuff is not rocket science. These things were meant to be serviced. It's all electromechanical, no big deal. But honestly, they do require a bit of work every so often. So, it might look cool when Phineas is playing it or Jean-Baptiste, but they got guys maintaining these things. But you can do it. If your keys are still sticking after you lubricate the action center, you can put a drop of Protec on the top of each of the pins under the keys. You can see in this picture the little circle of paper that's underneath the felt, helping to level the key. A quick word about the pedal. There's a grounding wire that goes to the bottom of the pedal and moves with the pedal. And after a certain length of time, that'll break off. These are 50-year-old units, a lot of them, so you can see that wire there. It actually moves with the pedal, so it's subject to breaking off. You can easily reattach it. Everything's user serviceable. You just take out 4 screws on the bottom of the pedal and it opens up, and you can get in there to reattach that wire. The sound of a Wurlitzer comes from tines, metal tines. You can kind of see them here. I'm showing you these ones because at the top end it's deliberate. The dampers are deliberately cut off to let these ring a little. So the tines, basically, the amount of metal on them determines how high or low they are in pitch. So you can actually tune the tines finely by loosening the bolt that holds the tine in and backing the tine off a little, and then tightening up the bolt. That would make it sharper. Moving it forward would make it flatter, I think. Anyway, you can experiment with that. The one thing you want to make sure is that when you retighten that using a nut driver or whatever you're working with, the tine is free to move in that gap. If it doesn't, you'll get a really loud banging sound. And if you hear a Wurlitzer that's got one note with a banging sound, it's a big clunk, kind of an electrical clunk. all that means is that one of your tines is not centered. So you have to go into that particular note that's making the clunk and center the tine, make sure it's between those gaps. To do more radical tuning on those tines, you can actually add solder to the tines to make it heavier or flatter, or you can take away solder on the top of the tines with a file or a Dremel tool carefully to make it sharper. The tines are still findable. You can still order some from various sources. Again, I'll talk about a couple of good resources at the end if you break a tine. The Wurlitzer 200 was built from about 1968 to 1974, so this one's over 50 years old. It's a mono keyboard, so if you plug something into the headphone jack, such as stereo headphones, expect to only hear sound in one ear. The best way to get by that without wrecking your headphones is just to get a mono stereo adapter. They're easily available. So obviously I don't know you very well, we just met, but the point of this is just to give you a general overview that a lot of this stuff is user serviceable, and let's face it, in a lot of cases that's going to be your only option, because the guys that fix these keyboards, they're not really doing that anymore. So don't be afraid to get your hands into it. As long as you're not sawing any wood or cutting any metal, chances are you're going to be doing something that's reversible if you make a mistake. So dig in. There's some good resources online. One of them is Vintage Vibe. A lot of this stuff has in-depth how-to videos from Vintage Vibe. So if you want to do any one of the things we talked about, go to Vintage Vibe and online, and they'll have a video probably that explains it. Another place you can get parts is Tropical Fish. They seem to specialize in remanufactured Wurlitzer parts. Another place is CV Keyboards. They seem to have a few parts. You can pick up stuff sometimes on eBay too. So a lot of this stuff is just general tools that you need to repair, your basic soldering, iron screwdrivers, stuff like that. It isn't rocket science. As always, use safety precautions, make sure it's unplugged, make sure the capacitors are discharged before you're doing electrical work, but you can do all this stuff. So good luck. Hope this helped. Have fun.